Merging to move ahead, a local powerhouse joins forces with a rural brand to make waves in the local credit union market. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kenil Gale. Thanks so much for joining us this week. It's a merger that's expected to shake up the credit union business locally and increase competition. We're sitting down with the man who struck the deal. That's in a bit, but right now here are some of the top stories from the BATV News Desk. Bank of Jamaica BOJ Governor Brian Winter says there is little the central bank can do that will cause commercial banks to offer lower interest rates to businesses. He says while the BOJ has taken steps to make doing business easier, the central bank's focus now is on the bigger economic picture. Governor Winter was speaking with journalists at the BOJ's quarterly monetary policy report press briefing on Wednesday. Sashana Small was there.
Small Business Association of Jamaica SBAJ and the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association JMEA are two groups that have slammed commercial banks for not offering lower interest rates, especially since the Bank of Jamaica has lowered its policy rate to 2%. This is what SBAJ President Hugh Johnson had to say at his organization's recent press briefing.
We must acknowledge while BOJ has been implementing measures to influence the reduction in interest rate, we are, however, not seeing the comparative reduction at the retail outlets. As far as we can observe, moral suasion has not impacted how these financial institutions operate.
But BOJ Governor Brian Winter says it's not the sole responsibility of the central bank to do this, but he acknowledges that the issue requires attention.
It's not a BOJ issue. Okay, I just want to be clear. Even though we care about it and participate in solutions and will, I think it's more of a, but it's an issue that requires attention.
However, he says the central bank is focused on macroeconomic growth. And while the BOJ may be able to alleviate some of the impediments faced by small businesses, there are some things it cannot solve.
The broad macro issue of accelerating credit to get growth is what we're focused on. But when it comes to certain sectors, in particular small business, I think everybody accepts that you have to, you can't just leave it to the aggregate. There are impediments and problems that can be solved, and there are other things that maybe we can't solve.
He says that the only thing they can do about this is what they've already been doing, which he says has caused an expansion of credit.
The biggest thing we can do is the accommodative monetary policy that we've been discussing. It is exerting a downward pressure on those interest rates. As I pointed out, we are seeing a continuation of the reduction of these lending rates.
Governor Winter says the BOJ had worked with the Development Bank of Jamaica to reduce the capital small businesses need to access loans. And the BOJ has also collaborated with the Ministry of Finance to see what else can be done.
In collaboration with the Minister of Finance, we, the bank, have retained an expert to work with us on reviewing all of these different initiatives, so that we can identify identify and develop a strategy for me to place before the minister, for him to make some decisions on that would address this kind of question, but not just MSMEs.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Jamaica has maintained its policy interest rate at 2%. Governor Brian Winter says the central bank is maintaining the rate because it expects inflation to increase towards the 4 to 6% target range by March next year. Here's more.
Bank of Jamaica Governor Brian Winter says the decision to keep the policy rate at 2% was largely influenced by the rate of credit expansion, which continues to grow.
So, the decision to maintain the policy rate unchanged, following cumulative downward adjustments of 100 basis points since the start of the year, including the 50 basis points I just mentioned, has been made in the context of signs that have emerged of a pickup in the rate of expansion of private sector credit.
Governor Winter says the growth of credit expansion results in economic growth, which will support inflation targeting.
In private sector, credit growth continues. The resulting increase in economic activity is going to support inflation returning to the target of 4 to 6% with greater certainty than we see today. Inflation matters. That's where we are putting our commitment.
And the BOJ is forecasting its inflation rate based on an increase in domestic agricultural prices, among other things.
The bank's projected path for inflation for the near to medium term incorporates recent inflation outturns, which were generally lower than anticipated, as we've seen. Over the near term, the inflation forecast is mainly predicated on an expected increase in domestic agricultural prices, in oil prices remaining elevated, and the impact of improving economic activity supported by the accommodative monetary conditions over the last year.
So, will the Bank of Jamaica ever consider lowering its policy rate further?
I'd like you to note, though, that Bank of Jamaica is going to closely monitor credit conditions and will make further cuts to the policy rate if they are required.
In the meantime, the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, is calling on the Bank of Jamaica BOJ to become more transparent in the publication of accurate and timely information. EPOC says this is one way the BOJ can help the public have confidence in the economy. More in this report.
The Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, says while the monetary policy reforms taken since 2016 provide the Bank of Jamaica BOJ with the toolkit it needs to maintain price stability within the economy, the public needs to be kept aware. EPOC points to the oversight signal policy rate, the introduction of the Be-Fix-It auction mechanism, the accumulation reserves, a BOJ foreign exchange intervention policy, and inflation targeting as central bank policies which are helping to stabilize the economy. EPOC co-chairman Keith Duncan argues that while the volatility in the foreign exchange market over the past couple of months is cause for concern, the BOJ through its reform will help to stabilize the market. He notes that through the Be-Fix-It auction mechanism and the intervention policy, the BOJ's flash auction last Friday saw $40 million being sold into the market. This intervention, he says, resulted in the Jamaican dollar appreciating by some 38 cents when the market resumed trading on August 27. Mr. Duncan explains that the key objective of the monetary reforms is to ensure that the country has a flexible exchange rate that moves in line with the fundamentals of the Jamaican economy and global market conditions. He says this is a critical component for Jamaica to have a globally competitive economy which attracts capital that will lead to sustainable job creation and growth. Meanwhile, Keith Duncan says while the missed inflation target which triggered a meeting with the IMF executives is cause for concern, EPOC still supports the BOJ's reform actions and wants all Jamaicans to do the same.
Moving on now, C&WJ Cooperative Credit Union has merged with St. Elizabeth Cooperative Credit Union in a bid to increase its foothold and improve offerings to customers.
C&WJ says merging with the St. Elizabeth Cooperative Credit Union was a great opportunity to improve efficiencies and offer customers better options.
One, there is increase in size, increase in capital, and increase in the asset base. You benefit from the increase in the asset base in terms of your loan portfolio, for example, is expanded, your revenue is expanded, and you benefit from that. Clearly, we are regulated, and we will be further regulated by Bank of Jamaica. So strengthening the capital base is also very important. But importantly, when you bring two institutions of reasonable size together, there's also efficiencies that you get from a merger. So you won't need two operations, two marketing, two IT. All of those will fall away, and you'll benefit from improved efficiencies. Of course, with the credit union movement, there are certain territories that is almost exclusive to the credit union. So whilst almost anybody could join C&WJ, members of St. Elizabeth, farming communities, they would dominate that corridor. So with the expansion, with the merger, just about all of St. Elizabeth we would capture.
So, what made the St. Elizabeth Cooperative Credit Union attractive for CNWJ?
Well, they are a credit union that had a certain size and synergies that would make it a perfect fit for CNWJ. So we are, prior to St. Elizabeth, we were active in 8 parishes.
The merger will bring increased benefits to the people of St. Elizabeth.
They can get a mortgage, almost any amount they want. They can buy cars, larger unsecured loan portfolio. And of course, they would also benefit from the rates that we offer on savings and the improved rates or the competitive rates that we offer on our loan portfolio.
With regulations coming for the credit union movement, the merger is a timely one.
Now we're setting ourselves up to be a strong institution, not just for regulatory purposes, but so that we can be able to invest in the type of activities that we want to invest in, to streamline our operations going forward. So we are going to be introducing a new core banking system come the 1st of October. And with that will come the benefits of, increased compliance, improved efficiency, mobile banking, internet banking, and a host of other features.
How will the new entity ensure it remains competitive within the market?
First thing is that we're going to listen to the members. That's the first thing. The members want ease of access. They don't want to wait in line. They want to access their account by the phone. They want to be able to go, you millennials, they call you youngsters. They want everything now. Now, that's essentially what we are lining up to do. So I mentioned that we have a new core banking system being introduced. It's those things that the new system will allow us to do. So we look forward to serving our members. We look forward to growing. We look forward to regulation, and with that, we would then be able to position ourselves to be competitive. And remember now, unfortunately, we're not just competing with other credit unions. We're really competing with the whole financial landscape. That's what we're competing with.
Company news comes up next. Then later, is air pollution making us stupid? Stick around to find out. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Here's this week's company news.
Sagicor Bank, the digital group through its subsidiary Prism Services Jamaica and MasterCard have teamed up to launch MyCash, a prepaid MasterCard branded card that's linked to a mobile wallet. The mobile wallet is an app on your smartphone that is linked to the card, which customers can use to manage their money, make payments, and transfer funds both locally and from the U.S. President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Christopher Zaka, says the partnership with the digital group and MasterCard is a game changer for the Jamaican market. He notes that the MyCash mobile app and accompanying prepaid MasterCard is the first of its kind in the market. There are no sign-up fees, no need for a bank account, no application form, and no credit checks to get the card. But while the card is free to activate, there are transaction fees. The Jamaica Brawlers group of companies has reported revenues in excess of $48 billion for the fiscal year ended April 2018. President and CEO Christopher Levis says despite the challenges faced, the company is pleased with its results. He says executive decisions were made to have the capacity of the company strengthened, bolstering brand presence in the Jamaican market, while positioning the best dressed chicken and hyper brands for Jamaica's food security. security. Going forward, the Jamaica Broilers Group says it hopes to strengthen its presence in the Haitian marketplace and in the U.S. The company says the move is expected to provide more opportunities for growth. Caribbean Producers Jamaica CPJ is reporting record gross revenues for the 12 months ended June 30. Gross revenues are up 10% to nearly $108 million. The company is crediting this to aggressive marketing and pricing strategies, increased tourist arrivals over the past year, and the introduction of new products. CPJ says the strong growth in the first 3 quarters was followed by a softer than expected fourth quarter. The company says this was due to unforeseen challenges arising from the use of new IT software. It says the transition to the new platform impacted their operations and disrupted their service and sales in the last 2 months of the financial year.
Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from the major stock markets around the world. When we come back, more of the week's top stories from the BATV News Desk, so stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. More news now. Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Jennifer MacDonald, has resigned. In a brief email to members on Tuesday, PSOJ President Howard Mitchell said Ms. MacDonald's resignation takes effect September 30, 2018. He said, regrettably, Ms. MacDonald has decided to leave the PSOJ to pursue other professional options. He added that during her 6 months tenure, she applied her energies vigorously to the benefit of the organization and demonstrated the strong work ethic and unremitting dedication to the job for which she was known elsewhere. Ms. MacDonald joined the PSOJ as CEO in February this year. Cabinet has approved more than $1 billion in contracts. The contracts span the education, health, banking, and water sectors. The announcements were made at the latest post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
Information Minister Ruel Reid says Cabinet has signed off on contracts totaling more than $380 million to provide and distribute textbooks for rental in the upcoming school year.
Kingston Bookshop Limited received the contract totaling $210,517,535.14 Jamaican dollars. Carlin Publishers Caribbean Limited, $110,593,387.65. Book Wizard Limited, $65,587,200.
Cabinet has also approved a contract for 1 dozen garbage trucks for the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, and the National Water Commission, NWC, will be getting a new financial management system.
Kingston Industrial Garage, KIG, has been approved for a contract in the amount of $1,749,264 United States dollars for the purchase of 12 garbage compactors for the National Solid Waste Management Authority. National Water Commission, Cabinet has approved the award of a contract for the provision of consulting services for the implementation of a Financial Information Management System, FIM, by the National Water Commission to Fujitsu Caribbean Jamaica Limited. The contract is valued at $2,839,419 United States dollars and 17 cents.
Meanwhile, Minister Reid announced that a private security company was granted a contract for more than $126 million to provide security for the mental health institution Bellevue Hospital.
In regards to Bellevue Hospital, Cabinet also approved the award of a contract to Modern Investigation and Security Limited in the sum of $126,918,828 for the provision of private security services over a period of 3 years at the Bellevue Hospital.
The local film industry achieved a major milestone during the 2017-2018 financial year. The industry contributed some $1.2 billion in production expenditure to the local economy. This is the first time the contribution of the film industry has surpassed the $1 billion mark. Film Commissioner at Jamaica Promotions Corporation JAMPRO, Renee Robinson, says the value of the production budget that comes into the island to offset the services rendered in films increased by 65%. Some 124 international film productions took place on the island during the 2017-2018 financial year, generating almost 3,000 jobs. Documentaries led the types of international productions, with 35 being filmed in Jamaica over the period. Opposition spokesman on energy Philip Paulwell is urging the government to consider putting the Wigton wind farm on the Jamaica Stock Exchange and reserve most of the shares for the plant's workers. Here's more.
The PNP says the Wigton plant, located in Manchester, produces some 62 megawatts of electricity from wind, which it sells to the Jamaica Public Service Company. Mr. Powell says that makes Wigton Wind Farm a profitable national asset which ensures Jamaica's energy security by producing clean, renewable energy at affordable cost for consumers. The PNP spokesman therefore wants the government to offer shares to Jamaicans through an initial public offering IPO. But importantly, he's calling for the shares to be reserved for the Wigton Wind Farm workers.
We believe that having gone through this process, having built tremendous value, up to $15 billion worth of value in the company, and the company remains very profitable, that in divesting it, the government should look to first the staff of the enterprise for them to benefit. I believe that there should be a special amount of shares earmarked for civil servants and, of course, for the ordinary Jamaicans, and that you should not allow these shares to be gobbled up by large institutional investors.
Mr. Powell argues that while Wigton is a small institution, it's earning some $20 million annually. He says while investments help build wealth and create more jobs, having locals owning shares in the business fosters inclusivity and pride.
The employment opportunity there is quite limited because this is really a mechanized plant. But what you want is for ordinary Jamaicans to share in the profit that will flow from Wigton, and for them to be encouraged to do so by way of a public advertising campaign.
Mr. Powell says even though he doesn't support the divestment, he wants full ownership of the entity for locals.
We have set up a system where the company has been properly managed by the professional staff, and we would certainly want to see that continued once the government was going to hold on to it, but the government having decided not to, then all we are saying is that we want to ensure that the widest possible ownership involving the Jamaican people be allowed. And that's why we're insisting that there be this earmarking of shares for the widest possible cross-section of Jamaica.
When you come back, take a deep breath, but be careful of the air you breathe. It may be damaging more than just your lungs. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. A new study has found that exposure to air pollution may impede cognitive ability as people become older, with less educated men the worst affected.
Is the air we breathe making us more stupid? A new study carried out in China, but with results that can be applied around the world, suggests that air pollution may significantly harm intelligence. The study finds the elderly are the worst affected, especially poorly educated men. Previous studies only focused on students and found similar results, but this report is the first to go across all age ranges and examine the differences between men and women. The cumulative effect could be equivalent to losing a whole year's education, and for the highest risk group, several years, says the research team. 4 years of study of over 20,000 people produced the data, and with 95% of the world's population breathing air that is deemed unsafe, the upcoming first global conference on air pollution and health in Geneva in October will have some hard facts to work with. Air pollution in China is declining, but it remains 3 times above the World Health Organization's limits.
And that's our show for this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Kenil. See you next time.